We're starting the meeting tonight, finance meeting, May 8th. I mean, it's James Taylor, the vice chair. Roll call.
Chairwoman Anthony is absent. Vice Chairman Taylor.
Here.
Counselor Andrew Walker. Here. Counselor Graves.
Yeah.
Counselor Sanchez is absent. We have 3 present and 2 absent. We have a quorum.
Okay, is, I'm gonna think, is someone here from Kodak? What's
Go
that?
to the hall.
To the hallway.
Okay.
Oh,
And well, she did that.
everybody move to the hall.
Better place.
Yeah, the motion to take that, vote, please.
Yeah, so we. Second.
So number 6 will be our own day. Thank you. We're coming to you. You could just get sworn in to the end, please.
Sure.
You swear in the perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I can state your name for the record, Linda Hurley.
Just for the record, Councilman Sanchez, you did.
So noted.
And I'd like to recognize Councilman Oscar Vargas, I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you, Trey. Oh, my
I
God.
didn't see you. And Internal Auditor Gina Costa, Ken Cheverini, and
Wow.
Donna, and I forgot.
Carissa.
Now you're saying,
Carissa. Oh my
now you're
God.
saying a lot of people.
So noted.
I'm losing it. So. You want to start with,
I wanted to read it into the record.
yeah.
Resolution endorsing and urging passage by the General Assembly of House Bill 2025 H-5699 and Senate Bill 2025 S-0799, an act relating to taxation, property subject to taxation.
And so I won't repeat the bill numbers, but my name is Linda Hurley, and I am the president and CEO of the Kodak Behavioral Health Care. I'm really sorry, I'm not going to be able to speak that.
Oh, it's okay.
That's fine.
They can also see you on the screen. Oh, okay, great, thank you. I've been with the organization for, now it's going to be 38 years. I started as an intern and I ended up being the CEO because the first 2 months, there's a reason why I say this, and I will be quick, I know that we're busy. I started as an intern and I came to Kodak because I was ambivalent about how medicine would work for substance use disorder and behavioral health. And I fell in love with the modality in 2 months, so I stayed for almost 38 years. It's so effective. So Kodak is the oldest, only nonprofit and largest provider of opioid treatment in Rhode Island. And we've expanded now to provide psychiatric care. So we have psychiatrists, 8 PRNs, which are advanced nurse practitioners. We have psychologists, we have behavioral health counselors. We also provide medical care now, particularly at 45 Little, which is the address for the building that we're talking about tonight. And so again, I'm just requesting your endorsement actually to support the tax exempt status of Kodak at 45 Little in Providence. And what we're doing there specifically, we have been incorporated in Rhode Island for 53 years. We are one of the oldest opioid treatment programs in the country. We've grown so much since then. And our mission now is really just to provide care to individuals, families, and communities so that those individuals, families, and communities can thrive. And we provide all of the services under one roof at this point. We have 21,000 square feet. It's pretty exciting. So we have behavioral health care there. We have so all the psychiatric treatment, counseling, etc. We have medical. And we provide 7, well now will be 9 medical specialties, including dentistry, infectious disease, primary care, urgent care, etc. And one of the specialties, of course, is all substance use disorders and the medicine for all those disorders. In addition, we have partnered formally at 45 Royal Little to merge, or to partner, not merge, to partner with East Bay Peer Recovery Support. So we have a whole center there for just individuals to come in, where I don't know if you're familiar with that particular area, but we're right up on, again, we're still on the railroad tracks. God forbid we lose the railroad tracks. And we're right near Walmart off of Silver Spring. So people are starting to community. We opened formally on the 18th of January. We already have 500 people coming to us. And one of the most important pieces of this, besides the medical services that we provide, are the services that are for what they call social determinants of care. But basically, it's what people need. If people need food, we have a food supply and we have direct connection to Rhode Island Food Bank. If people need somewhere to live, we have people that help navigate that with us. We're really excited to have also Rhode Island Parole and Probation are utilizing our space to see the folks in that part of town or people that need to understand. My son is suddenly on probation. I don't know what that means. So we have people there from the Department of Corrections that are helping with that. We are also looking to enter the reentry process, which, many of you may know that we had one of the first programs in the country in the Department of Corrections for substance use disorder and medications. So we do a lot of reentry work, and now we're going to have the Department of Corrections group there working with us to allow that movement. We're having neighborhood health care. 93% of the people that we serve are the most vulnerable, and they are the most chronically ill folks. Poverty allows for that more than athletes does really. And so 93% of the folks we serve are Medicaid patients. So neighborhood health care is renting space from us. They're right there in the building. If anybody has any problems with their insurance. The Department of Labor and Training is with us has space there to provide not just like workers' comp issues for the people that come to us in the community, but also for career development within the engagement program. And we have more. I mean, I don't know if you want to hear the full list. I provided 15 of these, and it will tell you all the things that we are doing here now. And so I don't know how much more you would like to hear.
I think that's good, and if we have any questions, does anybody have any questions?
This is what it's very looking, but.
Because you use it.
Yeah.
Stop being.
This is awesome. You.
Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I'm surprised.
Oh, okay.
In the Senate in Washington, and I wasn't this nervous.
Be nervous.
I have a quick question. So one, all your work is amazing and thank you so much for everything you do. How, like, for the tax abatement, like, how much taxes are you talking about? Do you have like a monetary amount that you paid before?
We've been paying, well, last year we paid 53,698, I think,
Okay.
approximately.
Yeah. You're like, 22 cents.
Yeah. Because it's taken, the building was actually the building that was the factory. We bought it from AAA. And it was a factory building, and they created the cards, like, I'm older than everybody here, so you won't remember, but there were cards that you get from AAA that were like a credit card. That
Oh, yeah.
were thick
I have some of
plastic.
those.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So.
You're not that old. so-
Yeah. Or I'm older than that.
So and we just gutted it, we took everything out, and they, of course, maintained the building beautifully, so it was a great structure. And 2.5 years later, we're ready to roll, but we've been paying, there's somewhere between 48 and last year, it was 53 and change.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No questions. I just want to share much gratitude for the work that you and your team does for our community. I work with the unhoused on a 9 to 5 basis, so a lot of my clients utilize services at this location. So definitely just deeply much gratitude. Thank you.
I'm actually excited. It's wonderful.
Something great to do, but.
I didn't have a comment. I know several people that have got more than that with this program, all going well in the society. And I think it's so wonderful.
Awesome, Barnes.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your hard work and your. Got a question for you. What are we going to do with the building on?
Continue to that.
Mhm.
Well, we thought that the building was, the last appraisal we had was 5 years ago. And we were told that it was gonna take $8 million to be able to stabilize that building on Huntington Ave. Because the soil wasn't, I can't remember the words, but it wasn't, it's landfill. So if you go to put a new building down, a foot here will go down 2 feet lower than here, so it's not going to work. There's a good word for that, but I'm trying to describe it. And we found that our building, we just found out that the building is much more sound than any of the, we've had 3 appraisals. This 4th one that we just had, it is actually, it's in good shape. So we're happy to be able to keep Huntington Ave. And some of the.
Doing the same service?
Yes.
Doing the same service?
Yeah, doing the same service. And also those services there, in Olneyville, the individuals were really upset when they thought that we were going to have to move them over, and we didn't want to do it. We didn't want to abandon anybody. So that's why we had to do appraisal. And so we're gonna have to do some work in the back left side of the building where the train makes a lot of,
Shake.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so it's shaken so much that there's splits in the exterior concrete.
Mhm.
But that back section is all wood, something in green
Mhm.
that, and it's in good shape. So all we have to do is take out 15 feet here and 15 feet here on the outside and rebuild it. And that's what we're gonna do because we allotted some money through HRSA. All the support for this has been through Senators from the White House's office this week, got earmarks. And we allotted some of that, we wanted to upgrade. And, paint and put murals and awnings and new windows and everything, but now we're gonna make the building stable.
Right.
And we'll do next round of funding, we'll be able to make it aesthetically pleasing. So it is I would love to show you and take some time because, we're gonna have to put some pylons in on each side. But it all makes sense. And
It's gonna be fixing next to the one that goes to the junkyard,
yeah.
that one.
Mhm.
All right.
Right, on that side, and, it's gonna take a little time because we have to get permission from Amtrak to do the work at night. And then it's just gonna take some time, but we figured out what we've been told by the general contractor and the structural engineer is that probably in 12 weeks.
Right. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I would love for you to come see it.
It's his ward too.
I
Oh,
know,
it is.
I know that.
That's why I asked.
They might admit it if we go there, so I'm not sure.
Hey.
Any other, Madam Auditor, any questions? No other questions, comments? Do we have to
Right, you
put
can
this
enter
in
this
as
as
a
an exhibit,
Yeah.
you can call it Exhibit A. if
So
you'd
moved.
like.
exhibit A? First and second, first by, Sanchez first and, what's your name? Samantha Blunt, second. Oh, I'm like, I'm with it today. We made a new quote, but my mind is.
Yeah,
American Code.
American quote, I don't know, you know what I mean? So then I need a motion to approve number 6, correct?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Councilwoman Anderson, seconded by Councilwoman Graves. All those in favor? All those opposed? None. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We got all nervous for nothing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This will go to the full council and then we'll vote on it. And we'll be all set. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're gonna start with the IT department, keep it smaller. If you don't mind. Plus Jim has my first name, so I want to.
So you got it.
So if we could swear that in, we're gonna do IT first.
Swear on the pen.
The only-
The testimony about the give is the truth.
Okay.
the truth, and nothing. I did, and please state your names and the titles for the record.
Just so I'm looked up for my instructor and rush officer.
And Silveria, CIA. Wallace Smith here, Chief Financial Officer of City of Providence.
Thank you, thank you. And Chris, I'll hand it over to you, because you do a great job.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. I encourage everybody to turn their budget books to pages 112 through 115. That's where you can see the budget details for the information technology department.
That's the big book,
This is the big one, yes,
Well,
big book. The numbers start on page 114. Chief Information Officer for the City of Providence. I'm on slide 2 now. This is a revenue generating department. In fiscal year 2026, we have budgeted $160,000 for a technology fee. As you may recall, this was a new fee that was established by ordinance last fiscal year. It's $2 per transaction. It's applied to every ticket. So we are estimating it will be collected on 80,000 tickets in fiscal year 2026. Revenues today are not where I would have expected them to be at this point. That's due to a slight delay in the implementation of adding this fee onto the tickets. So that did not happen until January of 2025. And so right now, we're still awaiting the first payment for the first set of those tickets that have been issued and then paid out. But we do anticipate that now that it's live and running, that we will obtain $160,000 in fiscal year 26.
So we haven't received it, so.
what's that?
Ask
Go
a
ahead.
question. We haven't received anything regarding
Not
that.
quite yet. So it was applied to the tickets January of 25, and Modaxo, because of the delay in the contract execution, was a little bit delayed in making their payments to us. We were a little delayed in making our payments to them, and so they are now caught up through December of 2024, and I anticipate we should be receiving January any day now, and so that's when we'll start to see those revenues come in and get applied.
All right, thank you.
Any other revenue questions?
Any other questions?
Excellent.
Well, we're waiting, so.
oh, no, but it's fine. No, no question later.
Total proposed expenditures for fiscal year 2026 are $8,228,368. This is a 6.7% increase over the fiscal 25 budget, or $517,000. And the breakdown by category is included on this page for anybody's questions. The first major component we'll review on slide 4 is salaries. Fiscal 2025 salaries were $9,946,573. In fiscal 2026, we need to make adjustments for the following items. Cost of living increases, $30,332. Step increases for eligible staff at $33,277. This is a department that has defunded one FTE, that was a clerk 4, and the annual salary for that position was $40,796. Additionally, there are 2 positions that have transferred in from the police department and commissioner's budget, if you recall from those budget hearings. So those transfers are budget neutral, but are reflected in this budget for a salary increase here. Continue?
Take the question, but yeah.
Yeah, not a problem. Sure. Operational fixed and discretionary costs. This budget is primarily made up of fixed costs. The largest drivers are private contractors, which are the support for our ERP system, Lawson. It's also network wiring and funding for our ERP consultants. Additionally, we have about $3.4 or $3.6 million budgeted for various software licenses throughout the city. And as we have discussed during the commissioner's budget, almost all, if not all, of the software licenses we reside in this information technology line. If they are specific to public safety, they will be in the Commissioner of Public Safety's budget. When we go down to supplies, their fixed cost of computer equipment. This is any sort of laptops, technology, hardware purchases that the IT department needs to make for the entire city of Providence. There is a $20,000 allocation for office supplies. The primary cost driver for that line item is desktop printers. So it's not necessarily office supplies for the IT department. It's toner cartridges and desktop printers for other departments who need those at their specific desks versus the centralized copy machine for the office. Stationery is another larger discretionary line item. However, that is required for check stop, tax forms, and hard drive shredding services. Their rent is fairly self-explanatory. That is the prorated rent for their space at 434 Westminster Street. There's $13,000 allocated to repairs for equipment. This is for various equipment maintenance in the IT budget. Copier and lease maintenance is budgeted at $4,200 and is under contract. There's a small allocation for travel, and this is staff mileage reimbursements for staff that are traveling in the city of Providence for work-related purposes. And the last large fixed line item in this budget is the telephone line item, and that is for all non-public safety related mobile devices as well as internet service for city locations. And that wraps up my presentation on the IT department.
Anybody have any questions? Councilman and the Bob, when you move it.
You actually have a question, yeah. You can still, I think just like 2 or 3 quick questions. One is, can you explain, I want to make sure on that page. 53440 information technology is like 3.6, it's gone up. Maybe you already covered this and I missed it. What is that line? And why did it jump so much?
So from 3.2 to 3.6?
Yeah, and like prior years, it was like closer to 1.5 to.
Yep, so this is the line for all of the software for the entire city of Providence. So our ERP system, our asset management software.
Oh, is everything.
It's everything for the citywide. In fiscal year 2025, or sorry, in fiscal year 2025, the Tyler technology software, which was in the commissioner's budget, was moved into this fiscal year budget. So that's the big jump from 24 to 25. And then the $300,000 increase in 2026 is attributable to increases in, gosh, I have it written down. Oh, yes, it's due to the court case. Oh, yes, good call, Jim. In fiscal year 2025, we also added the court case management software to IT's budget. So there was a big jump in 2025 for both of those things. In 26, a real large portion of the cost is our budget software, OpenGov. It was previously being funded by ARPA as a kind of mechanism to test the water. Well, I'll back up a little bit. We had originally invested in the software when we had received the ARPA funding because we wanted a way to manage and track that revenue in a public and transparent way. I was part of the implementation of that for ARPA because I knew that we were building at that time, $500 million budget in Microsoft Excel, and that was not a very sustainable path forward.
Yeah.
And so while we were doing that implementation, we had worked with the software company and they kind of allowed me to test it and see if it would work in our model. And so we were able to successfully build last year's budget utilizing that software with ARPA dollars that we had set aside for cybersecurity and investments, and to continue to utilize the software, we will need to start to absorb this cost in our general fund.
Okay.
Additionally, we are seeing an uptick in the cost of our Microsoft licenses. As we modernize technology and invest in new things like 311 and mobile reporting for 311, it's requiring us to activate more licenses so that folks in DPW or Auburn Parks can really like log in on a mobile device to complete their work orders, be much more efficient. But that does come with a little bit of a cost on that end.
Thank you.
Councilman Graves? Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Director, can you just go over your, org chart? Is there no vacancies? I see here, we were defunding a clerk position, so do you not have any clerks in your department anymore?
We do not have any clerks in our department.
And that's,
Currently, and nothing like it for next year.
and that's okay? Like that, you don't need a clerk?
The position was defunded, we are getting by without one, so we're doing fairly well.
Fair enough. You don't have any vacant positions then? It looks like.
No, that's just like.
Can you just explain what an application project manager does? I know there's a couple like different ones, but just like the general overview.
Sure, we have several. Some of them are very close to the staff in this room. Project managers typically work on development of new or existing technologies that we have in the city. For example, we have our 311 system, project manager that was in charge of the solicitation, the helping us develop the RFP, the requirements for it, reviewing the RFPs, the submissions with the staff, and aiding the selection process. Then from there, working with vendors, working with staff, working with the other IT group on the implementation of software systems. So 311, it's in that case, it was regular meetings with the vendors, regular meetings with MCCS, meeting with the departments, doing a lot of training. We spent a great deal of time out in parks, DPW, public property, getting people trained on the system, how to access their work orders, how to respond to them in the field, and how to work the system more efficiently. We have other software systems in use throughout the city. We're working currently now with the city clerk's office to upgrade their meeting management software. We've been working over the past year or so with the 3 courts in the city to implement this court case management system. We also have a project manager dedicated to public safety. He is currently working on several other projects, the Tyler iterated dispatch. We're moving that.
The Annie Alley, is that correct?
That's
That's
portion
from
of
the
it.
state, yeah. I just want to make sure I throw that in there. I've been saying for 7 years and longer, so I'm very happy with it. I don't know what I'm gonna say next year.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sit there and say, okay, what about Annie Alley? Oh, what is it, Polly? Polly?
Yeah.
That's what's, Councilwood Peterson said it was Molly, no, it's Annie Alley. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
We've got a number of projects going on over there this year. We're working on an upgrade to our CAD system. We successfully implemented a roll call, which was it's an online system to allow contractors, vendors, businesses to reserve police and fire details. Make payments through there, track like payroll, track all the overtime. Our police and fire can check in when they're on a job, they can check out at the end of the job, sign off with work complete, and it's working really terrific for us. Other projects, we have our help desk implementation we've been working on throughout the entire city. Just yesterday, we launched that for the police department as well. So the project managers tend to oversee software systems, help people a little bit with training, make sure that everything's working properly, be the liaison between the end users and vendors in many cases for any updates, upgrades, additional reports for requests, changes, anything that we might need on those systems.
Thank you. My last question, and I mean, it's kind of weird to ask this like publicly, but this is the space that we're in front of today. You know, the school district recently, or about 6 months ago, probably at this point, took a cyber attack, or was attacked by cyber folks. Is the city, in your opinion, are we like moving in the right direction to be as safe as possible? And if we're not, maybe don't say it out loud, hackers that are hearing. But you know what I'm asking, like, is there more investing that we should be investing in software and make us, you know, everything I hear is like attacks are gonna happen, you just gotta be prepared and as trained as much as possible. What are your general
Well,
thoughts
I
on
can't
that?
comment at all on the school department and their operations over there. And, but what I can tell you is, from the city's perspective, we spend a great deal of time on protecting our environment, our network, our data, and our external connections. We have regular training program that goes to every employee in the city each month. Two types of training. One is actually a test where you might receive an email and we test to see, are you going to click on it? Are you going to enter your credentials? That's really the #1 way of getting into networks, of getting into data, is social engineering, where you'll receive an email, you think, oh, this looks legit. I'm gonna put in my username and password here, but we've just given that up. And we do a great deal of training, and then we follow up with people who might be clicking the links and might not be passing the training. So it's really a multi-pronged approach that we take. We work with industry partners, we work with, I'll say industry standard software and hardware that protects our network and our environment. I really don't want to get into the specific
Right.
systems that we have in place, but I believe that we are in an excellent position to protect the city's assets. We do have some terrific staff working on this full time as well. And the budget reflects the request to continue those services and the systems that we have in place that we're going to use.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilman Rogers? Any questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you. So your name is Tim Silveria?
Jim Silveria.
How come your salary is not a number? 831,
I think it maybe just didn't print in the box. I can give.
the box is too small for the number?
Well, no, I don't think the box is too small for the number. I just think that there was probably a formatting. Yeah, it was just a formatting problem. So the budget for, let's see what we have this. Chief Information Officer is budgeted at 174,799.
Was too small for them. What we can do, to save money, like, do we have the contracts with these companies? Are they coming up or about the licenses?
So we work with departments and believe me, I do not like buying systems, devices, licenses that are not going to be used. So when we receive requests for new hardware, new software, we do review it with department heads. We make sure that if we already have something in place that employees can use, we take advantage of our existing resources. We do regular reviews on our software and audits on the number of licenses that we have to make sure that what we own is being used. This year, just back in January, we did in time to renew our Adobe subscription. It's about $60,000 for all the Adobe software that's used in our city. And we sent around a survey to the people who have an Adobe license, asking them, what do you use? How often do you use it? Are you still using it regularly? Do you still anticipate that you're going to need it next year? So we try to stay on top of that. In the area of phones, for example, we have, I believe the latest count was 428 cell phones in use on the administration side. Every month, I have an employee that goes through the usage and looks over the past several months of cell phones. If we see devices that are not being used, we reach out to those individuals. We can suspend or cancel the service. If they don't need the phone anymore, return that. And every phone coming off is about $40 a city saves each month. So we stay on top of our expenses. And we have people for, I know it's a very large list of the individual items in here, but we do have people who oversee every one of these systems. All of the payments come from my office, and we ask these questions each month. We go through all of our expenditures, talk with people who are managing these projects on systems, and review these costs to make sure that we are using what we're ordering and we're getting the most for our money.
Because I would like to see if you really need a city phone, fine for you to use it, but if you are like an employee, you just come to work, you're on a desk all day inside this building, I don't think you don't need a city phone to be inside the building. I think a city phone would be good if you are like in Silver Lake or Oniville, trying to do work and you're trying to work to the phone. That would be useful. But to be inside the building, you get a city phone, I think it's kind of waste. If we can look into it, how we can save money, because with this budget is in crisis, and we try to do our best where we can save $1 here, $1 there, so we can help the taxpayers more.
I understand and I agree with you. From the, related to cell phones, I will tell you that this year, we've been working with our Parks Department, our DPW Department of Public Property, to modernize their workforce and improve their efficiency. So, with the new 311 system that we have in place, we did issue several new phones to the staff that didn't have it previously. This lets them access their work orders in the field. It lets their supervisors reach them in the field where they previously might not have been able to. It lets the field staff respond to work orders and complete items and issues, and that's reflected back into the 311 request. So constituents are seeing the work that the city is doing almost in real time.
Grandma's not seeing that, she don't use a phone number.
Sorry?
My grandma's not seeing that.
Well, she may not, but if she were to submit a 311 case and the thousands of people who do, they will see these, the improvements that the city's making in services. They're going to see these activities getting completed. And it gets rid of all the paperwork, it gets rid of returning to the office at the end of the day and spending an hour at your desk saying, these are the things that we did, when you could be spending that hour, out completing more projects, completing more work, completing more work orders. So there are some efficiencies that the city gains by taking advantage of this technology, but like I said, specifically for cell phones, we do review those every month and we do stay on top of usage, try to eliminate anything that's not getting used.
Last one. Because according to this budget process, I see that we're trying to do more technology, making like the process faster and easier for the people to use it, right? But at the same time, it costs a lot of money to have one device or a computer device to be sending information. The question is, if we buy 100 devices, are we eliminating one position? Or we adding more burn into the tax rate? So that's what we have to figure out, like, okay, we're going to be using a lot of technology, well, we might have to cancel one position because of this.
So I'm not sure I understand the question, but.
Question is, if you use more in technology, it's because you're going to be using less time to do the work. When you use less time, you don't need 20 people. You might have to cut one person to do, that's trying to figure out.
Well,
It's for you to work it out.
Well, let me give you an example. This was the roll call system that I mentioned in the past, earlier. That's a system that we went out to bid for last year. We worked with police and fire to get the requirements. We reviewed a number of vendors that had submissions for us. We selected a product for the city that ended up at zero cost to the city. So in the past year, in my budget for next year, there were no dollars being requested or spent on the roll call system. So when vendors, business owners, anybody organizing an event, a parade, a road race, something like that, they're booking now their events online. There is a review process for police and fire, and firefighters, police officers are responding and accepting these police details, police and fire details, all online, all on their mobile device or on their desk. When they do that, like I said, they'll check in, complete their detail. The billing is all done electronically now. The city is receiving an electronic feed from roll call on the payroll. That is no longer, we're not hand entering payroll anymore. for police details. We're not hand entering the detailed papers that they used to, go to whoever happened to be running a parade, they have to go find them at the end of the day and have them sign off that they were there for so many hours. And then get that into, people in the office to enter. Additionally, the billing system is all online now, so we're not sending out invoices, generating a whole lot of paper, having people spend time and money and mailing invoices to, everybody that wants to hold these terrific events in the city. So it was a huge leap in efficiency. It took a great deal of time off the plate of people who are involved in these processes. It saved the city money in terms of, certainly in terms of time for the staff who are doing this, but also efficiency, paperwork, mail, everything that's involved in managing the whole process. So we do look for cost-effective solutions for this, and we do work with the departments to make sure that if we're implementing a new software system, that they have the correct staff, that they're trained, they know what they're going to be doing. And we also kind of leave it up to the departments to say, this is an improvement. That frees up part of their time, part of their day. I'm gonna have them do work on this other thing that's been sitting out here for a little bit, that we haven't been able to get to.
Thank you.
Vice Chair, I just had a quick follow-up to that. You mentioned the roll call and just the thing in my head is when the public safety department was here, they talked about how they need to pay overtime for folks to log in the personnel for HR on like holidays and things like that. Does this address any, do you remember this?
I do, yeah.
Does this address any of that?
No, that really has to do with just timing, right? Like if you have people working 7 days a week and you need your payroll clerks to have at the department level done and ready to go by Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. There's only so many days that can happen. If Monday happens to be a holiday, you've lost a full day and you only have a half a day to do that. So a lot of times that overtime and callback happens because you need someone to come in on a weekend to do the work because it's a holiday.
Oh, okay, so that's just the timing. It's not like.
It's a timing thing. I do know that the detail process has been streamlined though as a result of this. This has helped their payroll office because I believe it's integrated with how they then build the file to upload into the lawsuit.
Maybe they don't need a whole day or something. Maybe just kind of.
It would cut down time. I will say, like, when we did pursue this project, it started in fiscal year 2024. And one of the really labor intensive components of the work was physically entering in the detail slips. I mean, there are hundreds every week, and we had a fiscal officer who was a great gentleman who lived in the city for 30 years, who like couldn't take a vacation on a detail week because he didn't know what would happen if someone wasn't there to build the details kind of thing. And as a result of this program, to the chief's point, not only are we able to like allow this person to take a vacation day, which is, I think, something that really your veteran is entitled to do. But also we were able to defund the position in fiscal 24. So it wasn't, I think we maybe defunded it a little bit in advance, but we did actually see an FTE savings from this software implementation.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Great, so your question.
Yes, speaking of the police department and commissioners office, those are the two positions that are now falling under this IT.
One came from the commissioner's office and one came from the police department budget.
Also, who is the money being paid out from the IT department or from those two separate entities? For those positions currently.
Currently, it's being charged to the IT department. However, the finance department is monitoring the salaries throughout the year. And if it appears that those line items will go over budget, we will transfer the salary to the department where those were appropriately budgeted.
Technically, you should not be transferring more than $5,000 without council approval between funds.
I don't know that we are transferring anything. I'm charging it to the IT budget. If the IT budget salary lines are not, if we're going close to $5,000 in our accessible budget, we would just take those salary lines and charge them where they were originally budgeted.
Any other questions, comments? That's it, Jim, thank you. I just will make one quick comment. I know Councilman Vargas was on, and I'm dating myself, because I worked for the fire department many years ago. And I know you guys did a lot of new technology, and, I think it's changed now, what? The fire department, myself included, was not too tech. With the new people, I think they're hiring, I'm more tech savvy. But there's still some older people out there that don't even know how to send an email, they send everything in the subject line, so, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't agree, I mean, there's still some people out there, so when you say you go to new systems, like we now, as council people can say, hey, go to DPW website and fill out the rack. Where before, I'm printing out a piece of paper as well as everybody and bring it to the people. So now you can just give that information, if they have a broken recycle bin, if they have a broken, I mean, for the last. You know, the first beginning of council when I became, I had copies, you just had to give copies out, right now, you know, they go to the website, so. I think, you know, as technology happens, you're gonna need people to train the people to go to the websites, and there's still some, as you know, your constituents probably can't get to the website.
They will get pissed with me if I tell
Your
them.
grandmother probably can't get to the.
Nope. Grandma will be,
So now that's why she has the phone, and she can call
that's why it is, we want to have more robots in the city, so we need more human beings in it.
them. Right, but I'm just saying, as technology happens, we're gonna need more people to train them, until we level off, and everybody runs the bank. Doesn't matter. But thank you, I have nothing further.
And the end of this as an exhibit.
So we are on exhibit B.
9.
Exhibit 9. Motion made by.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Graves, seconded by Councilman Sanchez, all in favor? Aye. Okay, thanks, Jim.
No.
No, A is first. Hold on.
Oh, it's like the.
But I'm gonna go to ACT, is that okay?
Of course, yeah.
Testimony you're about to give is the truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
And please state your names and your titles for the record.
Joe Wilson Jr., Director of Agriculture and Tourism.
Hillary Tosh, Facility Operations Manager.
Thank you for coming. With that.
The numbers for this budget are on page 38. Included in your packet are a work chart for this department as well as the job description for the proposed new position. Fiscal 2026 budget does include some proposed revenue for the Arts, Culture, and Tourism Department. Their largest source of revenue is a payroll reimbursement from the Providence Tourism Council. That has been budgeted as $118,200, which is consistent with what had been budgeted in fiscal 2025. Additionally, we have $13,000 budgeted for application fees. These are applications for people who are hosting special events in the city of Providence. And there is also a miscellaneous revenue of $2,500 budgeted. That is a transfer from the Eli Trust Fund to support art, culture, and tourism activities. Slide 3, total proposed expenditures for fiscal 2026 are $1,833,636. This represents a $24,555 increase over the fiscal 2025 budget, or 1.36%. Slide 4, proposed salaries in fiscal 2025 are $473,309. The department has proposed the following adjustments in fiscal 2026. There are cost of living increases of $11,189, step increases for eligible employees of $2,534. They are requesting to fund a new nightlife manager position at an annual cost of $69,469. Additionally, they are defunding the Director of Arts, Teaching, and Learning. That salary is $72,453. They are also requesting to fund the remaining 50% of two previously grant-funded employees. The first is a constituent engagement coordinator, and the second is the fiscal and operations manager, and both of those costs are $27,704 apiece. Operational, fiscal, and discretionary costs in this budget are broken down between service and supplies due to the large volume. And I think, postage is pretty straightforward. We know what those things are. There is $4,800 budgeted for annual website maintenance at Parks Now River Islands. They have $8,400 budgeted for national and local professional memberships. Printing is at $5,000. This is evergreen grant postcard printing, public art plaques, and in-house copy/print costs. So that would be like their in-house copy machine for their staff. Contractual services is their largest line item. This is their blanket contract for technical services. There's $300,000 allocated for PBE Fest. This also covers security service, Independence Day programs, holiday events, winter activations, and nightlife programming. Their last service in this budget is professional development, which has been budgeted at $5,500, and this enables them to send 2 staff members to GBCN conference, as well as attend regional working group training sessions. Slide 6. In the discretionary category, we have grant expenditures at $125,000. These are comprised of the project fund grants. There's 2 cycles, cycle 1 and cycle 2, as well as micro grants. They have a $500 allocation for office supplies, which has been reduced slightly to help preserve this budget and reduce spending where possible. There is $10,000 for ACT hosted public events for food. Additionally, they are also responsible for rent at 444, $74,224 represents their share of that payment. And the last line item is rentals not classified. These are equipment rentals for various ACT events ranging from portable toilets, movie licenses, and transportation. And that completes my comment.
Okay. Any questions? Councilwoman Anderson. I'm going alphabetical.
Okay.
No.
I'm doing, plus you're all wrong over here.
I mean, I do know. Okay, I have a few questions. The first is a comment. Well, thank you guys for being here, and you guys do amazing work. It's a great plan, so everything you guys see in this city, it's truly fantastic and very inspirational. Thank you. And then I do have 2 questions. One is actually from Councilwoman Anthony, who couldn't be here, so Anthony on her behalf. Can we talk a little bit more about the night manager? And I have a different question than she has, but I'll ask her question first. She's wondering, will they have a role in enforcement of ordinances, specifically making sure bars shut down when they should, and or like the noise complaint enforcement? Is that something they'll be able to work on?
Well, let me just give you a little bit of background about the position.
Please.
As you all know, 10 years, the department is 20 years old. And right before COVID, the department began working on its second 10-year cultural plan. Within that cultural plan, there were several buckets of recommendations made. 2 of the areas that we began to work on is particularly in cultural heritage tourism marketing. That was a request by folks who were a part of the developing the cultural plan, and that really is about telling a broader, fuller story about what makes Providence so special. There has been traditionally, a lot of focus on downtown, and I think we understand that what makes Providence so culturally vibrant, but that we are composed of many different cultural corridors in the city of Providence. And so it's making sure that the story that we tell about our city represents every member of our city, every corner of our city, and every community in our city. And we began working on that, and it's actually reaped some really great dividends. We now have more synergy between RI Commerce, the Providence Tourism Council, and the Providence Warwick Convention and Visitors Bureau than ever before, in making sure that the story that we tell of Providence is inclusive and comprehensive and dynamic. One of the other recommendations of that cultural plan was to interrogate what is the actual economic impact of our Life at Night sector. Because as you know, it's a gig economy sector. Many of our artists work in this sector. And we're always, as a former artist, we're always being asked to gather data about the effectiveness of our work, whether it be in community, in schools, what's our impact. And we've been great about gathering that data. But what we also have been done a great job of is really expanding folks' notion of what is an arts and cultural sector. And our Life at Night sector is a big piece of that. As a matter of fact, through this study that we've done, we now know that our Life at Night sector in the city of Providence, city of 185,000 people, We know that we are as international a city as Los Angeles. We know that we have more young people through our colleges per capita than Philadelphia. And we also know that this sector is a $990 million sector. Now, if this sector were labeled oil and gas, we wouldn't think twice about supporting it. And so we're making an economic case of why we should support this sector on behalf of the gig economy worker, but also on behalf of many of the small businesses and the artists who really drive this sector. And more importantly, expanding the way we think about the arts and cultural sector, not as just a thing that an artist produce or a thing that we think that we can afford to consume, but rather that sector includes design, that sector includes workforce development, that sector includes our chefs, that sector includes so many people who make and who create and who design. And so it's been a really powerful tool, and members of that Life at Night sector have really been asking us to do that.
Yeah.
And so the Life at Night manager is one of the recommendations of this plan. And so as this position exists in a few of our cities now, and it's meant to be able to coordinate all of these departmental issues. When you talk about security, when you talk about licensing, permitting, all of these things. But as far as enforcement, I think that's something that we have to work out with what we've established in the Life at Night Task Force,
Okay.
which will do three things. That group now consists of 20 members of our community from around the city who have volunteered to be a part of this group, as well as internal stakeholders. Police, fire, Department of Housing and Human Services, and on and on and on, to help us begin to operationalize some parts of the plan. But the main points that this task force will be working on is a comprehensive job description. Right now, we have an example. It's a draft or a rough draft of what that job description would be. We're also going to be working on updating the 2017 Best Practices Guidebook that was developed by the Providence Police Department. It's long overdue that we reevaluate that document. We're also going to be continuing our sound remediation work. We have started a grant program this year with the collaboration with economic development, which was another recommendation of the plan, where we're doing a carrot and stick strategy. There's been a lot of talk about putting sound equipment within neighborhoods. And the idea is that's one strategy, but the other strategy is having businesses actually be a part of the solution in terms of being better neighbors. And so we piloted a $30,000 program. We've hired a vendor called Bond to help to work on site with these two businesses. The two businesses that are piloting the program are Noir downtown and Troop in Oldenville. And we've already had our first of two meetings with them. It was an initial daytime meeting to understand what the bar's needs could potentially be. And then this vendor went back at night to visit these bars and restaurants when they're in full swing. And this vendor will help them develop a package that will help to remediate sound. And then we'll go back and test how much that's worth at the end. So that's a great program that we have operated. And we also have a really great transportation, a pilot program with Lyft, Spin, and Uber. With Spin and Uber and Lyft, we're offering either coupon codes, discount codes for folks who actually work in the sector. They provide proof of working in the sector, and these codes are valid from 11 o'clock at night until 3 o'clock in the morning. And we hope to be able to stand up this program in perpetuity with continued support from the city and from these organizations. And so as far as the manager is concerned, they're going to be coordinating. They're actually going to be coordinating a lot of these various partners, but enforcement it's a tricky thing. We hold the city service process as a department, but we have no enforcement power.
Yeah.
And so we rely upon police and fire and licensing to be that arm for us. Now, whether that's something that goes to the Life at Night manager, I can't speak to. My gut tells me that we want to maintain enforcement with these professionals. And then, so the manager is acting more as a coordinator and a spokesman generally for the sector as a whole.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you. I am really excited about the nightlight, or wait, nightlight, what's the night? Okay, thank you. Manager, I think it's a really important sector, and I 1,000,000% agree that if this were a oil and gas bringing in $1 billion, we'd be funding your department with like 45 people. So just to say that out loud. Are we concerned about getting a good, like are we concerned that $7,000 is not enough to pay someone to do this job? Like, are we gonna get the type of person we want to really like go all out on this? Because it strikes me that if we get the right person, like, we could really go all out. This would be really great for our sector. Are we concerned that it'll be someone too junior, or I don't know, maybe that's just my concern and you're like, nah, that's fine.
It's not a concern, because I think that part of what we'll work out as a task force is understanding, I think this is, even though it's a full-time position, but I'm imagining that based upon the hours of this position and how we structure this in terms of their scope of work, that, there will be opportunities for someone, it depends on what this person already has going on. I mean, so it is a full-time position, but I think there still will be opportunity for someone of caliber to apply for this position and still give them an opportunity to be able to find other sources of income.
And then, just a few others, for the, that's a bold thing, the 50% of the constituent engagement coordinator and 50% of fiscal operations, this might be a question for Crystal, like, where is the other 50% coming from, and where do these move from to be on this budget?
So these positions were, in fiscal 2025 are 50% general fund, 50% funded by, a grant from the Mellon Foundation, is that correct? When they were originally hired, it was under ARPA funding, so they had been previously grant funded under ARPA. However, unlike some grant funded positions, their work really was to support general government operations and the work of the department. And so, they have become critical members of this very, very small team. And so in an effort to kind of slowly shift the funding to the general fund to continue to support their operations, to continue to enable ACT to function as they do, it was kind of a 2-year staggered implementation. I will say that, going through this department's proposal and working with them on what they had submitted, there was a definite concerted effort to ensure that they could cut service and supply lines in order to save these salaries and keep these employees. They felt very, very strongly that with the team they have, they could make operational efficiencies and make this work. However, there is a risk, should that funding go away, that the work that these individuals are doing will need to get picked up somewhere else, and we'll need to just add back into private contractors or external vendors.
And then to that point, I guess I'm concerned about losing that person in this department, and it's already so lean, so I'll just say, I'm worried about whether or not, you guys have enough staff to do the amazing work you do, and it's uncomfortable, so you might not be able to say this, feel free to sue, I 100% agree with the mayor, what he's saying. I understand you might be in a position, but, are you concerned that you'll have to cut services or cut programs that you're working on, losing a whole staff person?
No, I'm not concerned. I think that what Charlotte and Ellery have done for us is they really allow us to professionalize this department. We have been able to simplify our procurement process. We have a balanced budget. Ellery also is at the top of the mountain in terms of all the PD Fest contracting. We have worked very hard to make sure that festival is, every dollar is transparent, where it's coming from. And so we will continue to be able to do that work, and that's very important, especially in the department that's lean, and especially in the department of artists. We're used to counting every penny. That's the way we work, and that's the way our constituency works. As far as the community engagement work that Charlotte does, our portfolio as it relates to city services has grown exponentially, even in the 2 years and 4 months I've been in this job. The number of special events that we permit, but it's not just a permitting process. Charlotte spends hours on the phone with constituents, walking them through site maps, liaising with them with public safety, showing up on site at events to do, walkthroughs in our public parks, showing up on site during these events on weekends to make sure that the rules that parks have established, or the rules that Lieutenant Jeanette says, this has to be, and Lima, this has to be, to make sure that those things are happening on site. So the community engagement work that she does is deep, and she's also involved in the work that we do with our cultural heritage tourism program. So I don't think that we're going to continue to operate and do the work that we do. To be fair, this position of arts teaching and learning was a position that was developed to support a program, number one, the Turn On Arts program that is no longer being offered by the Kennedy Center.
Oh.
Number two, a lot of our work, it makes me sad to say, so much of our work was with our kids. But we have no pathway forward right now in PPSD in terms of offering them, we can't offer free programming. You know, there was a program that, the AMP was dying to get us to sign up a bunch of school kids. We're talking thousands of kids. It's a program basically where over the course of a year, a music teacher or a coach or an artist would teach these kids a songbook. And then that would culminate with these kids performing behind a Trans-Siberian style orchestra with their parents at the AMP. They were paying for it all. And we could not find a single school that felt like they had the capacity to accept this offer. So until we have a viable path forward with PPSD, we just felt like this was the best way for us to invest in the Life at Night sector, because this is actually a way that we can contribute to helping the city raise revenue, grow this economy, so then we could, when we are finally have control of public schools, then we can have the capacity to invest in these programs. But right now, it just felt like we needed to, this is why the position is being unfunded and not eliminated. It still gives us the flexibility in the future to be able to put someone in this position. But it pains us that we have not been able to do the work that we would like to do in collaboration with PPSD. And we also did not have the support any longer from the Kennedy Center to Turner Arts Program.
One last question, I think, are you guys working with FEMA as they're getting prepared for the World Cup? Because it seems like that's a huge opportunity, just like pull in like a giant, I almost cursed and I didn't, so I had to pause for a second. A lot of people into our city instead of Boston or other places. I know FEMA's preparing on the.
I
safety
pause
side.
because I'm working very closely with FEMA and with all of our stakeholders around the World Cup. I'm also on the 250 State Commemorative Committee, as well as during that time, that 45-day period in June to 19th of July. There are 5 signature cultural events that take place in the city of Providence.
Yeah.
The problem that we've had, and why I'm grateful that the mayor put in the $250,000 into the budget to help support us for World Cup, is right now, FIFA's a mess.
Yeah.
We have not been given any clear guidelines from FIFA International. We're getting some information as Boston is trying to get their situation together as far as their activation. And so we as a city have been in a world of kind of herding cats.
Yeah.
The other thing that keeps me up at night, and I said this to the Secretary of State at the last 250 meeting, is right now in these individual spaces, no one's talking about these other events. And so we don't have a lot of resources. We need to maximize those resources. And I don't want our capacity to come at the expense, for example, of our cultural events. During that time, Pride is celebrating its 50th anniversary. Pride was formed in our eye as a result of not being welcomed to the 150th celebration of America. That was the impulse to form RI Pride. Puerto Rican Day Fest, Juneteenth, Day of Portugal, all of these festivals happened during that time. And so rather than us thinking about creating programming for 250, we have to think about creating programming that's what is going to be the visitor experience, but also what's going to be a quality of life issue in this city.
Yeah.
Between here in Boston, we're going to have 2.5 million people in a million people between here and Gillette potentially in a city of 185,000 people. So for example, in building out 250 programming, you know, there was this grand plan of we can do this and people would travel to Providence to see this and they travel. And I have to say, y'all, the way people travel during this time may change.
Yeah.
Because I'm from New Orleans. When we have the Super Bowl, we're not in the French Quarter, we stay home.
Yeah.
So there could be a very similar effect here. So, and I know that, for example, the state has a, maybe talking too much on this, but
No, I love this. No, this
the
is.
state has a line item that was put in the budget of $1 million. And that may be the only line item for 250. They're preparing on spending about $500,000 of that right now in activations and using a part of that money to help support our cultural festivals. But the point is, that could be the only money we get. And we have not gotten a full sense of city service costs for the state or localities. We have not gotten the full cost of what licensing will be if we want to show the games here in Providence or in other cities in the state. And so I'm grateful for what the mayor has done. I am grateful that the city of Providence, our posture is now, look, in spite of what we're getting and not getting, we need to be as prepared as we can be for this event, but also taking account what is already a jam-packed calendar between June and July, and our hotels are already booked in 2026
Yeah.
during that time. So how people travel in this state will change, parking is gonna change, transportation is gonna change, how the train station is being used is gonna change. And we should also, because we have limited resources, we need to collaborate, maximize those resources by making sure that we understand the full scope of our calendar, and more importantly, our cultural festivals cannot come at the expense of a lack of capacity at that time. That's the part that's gonna really trouble me a lot. They should be a part of what we're celebrating during 250, and they should be a part of what we're offering the World Cup, and not come at the expense of capacity.
Yeah, no, I appreciate everything you just said, and I've been up at night worried about also like returning to the housing next, like having that quantity of people. I'm worried about evictions, people turning rental properties into Airbnbs, like there could be all sorts of rolling impacts to our residents that I'm concerned about.
All of it, translation services, you know, of course, also we're gonna be welcoming people from around the globe with the implications around visas and our airport and signage, and this is a year away.
No, thank you, I'm glad that you keep so. Our director was.
Well,
Thank you.
I must say, you look very dapper.
Thank you. I got best stuff for y'all. I agree.
Going off that, my questions are gonna be mainly about the fundraising and the grants. Because we have said we were freezing these, I think we need this position and more, I go along with my colleagues on that. But this is a new position. After we said we were freezing and we want people to pay more because we can't afford to hire, but we're not gonna be able to do all these things. So, my thing is, what's happening with the, your fundraising for PVD Fest, which I think is our biggest one right now. And, where does that grant money go? How is that managed? And what other types of fundraising events are you gonna do? Because like you said, this might be a hit and miss the other thing to everybody, so up in the air, I don't do sports, so. Yeah, but, you know, because of all the issues that you named. So we're gonna need to generate more money, and I think you need to be more accountable of where all the funding is going. Because I need to justify to my constituents, yeah, well, yeah, they did hire some, but it was needed, and, you know. We are generating, this is probably one of the places where we're gonna get the majority of our money back in return. So I think, if you can articulate it so that, I mean, we can say, look. Yes, we got a position, but, and they probably need more. But these are this is where a lot of the money is gonna come from to help run the city, help do whatever else. So. That being said, the grant, you have a big thing down here for your grants, expenditures and all that other stuff, I want you to tell me about those two things, those are two things.
So if I understand the question correctly.
I know I rambled, I apologize.
No, the grant expenditures that are a part of our budget, those are grants that go directly to artists. And they're fiscally sponsored by 501c3s. And so those artists, that goes to everything, and we also have the Eli funds that we administer, and those Eli funds for smaller park activations, performances that don't require tech. And so, but our larger grant line, they support everything from small cultural festivals to artist activations at community centers or workshops that artists are producing, or, you know, so that will continue. And this has nothing to do, this grant line has nothing to do with PVD Fest,
I know they're two separate things.
two separate. You asked about PVD Fest.
Well, I started with PVD Fest because of the, it says that you guys are, we're getting grants and, I'm funds, we're raising funds for the program. Where in this budget, can we look to see how much money has been raised and where is that money going?
Okay, that money is not in this budget because PVD Fest is a separate budget. But what I can tell you is that hopefully we'll receive this $300,000 allocation from the general fund in our budget. Just to be fully transparent, PVD Fest last year was a $950,000 festival. That did not include the $150,000 in city service costs, which we don't see. And so traditionally, the makeup of the PVD Fest budget has been the city council allocation. This year, we hope it's for 300. Secondly, we pieced that together with a very large grant from the Providence Tourism Council, and we have just been awarded that grant. And that grant is for $200,000, so it's $500,000. As of right now, I am working with a budget of PVD Fest slightly shy of $900,000 in an attempt to find even more savings. And so you ask, where does the rest of that money come from? It comes from our vending fees, but it also comes from us fundraising. And as you know, fundraising, as you can probably imagine, fundraising is it's really difficult right now. It's very difficult right now for our 501c3s, for anyone trying to raise money in terms of from corporate sponsors. And so we started a program last year called the Friends of PVD Fest to provide people the opportunity to contribute on a much lower level, but to have VIP access within the festival. And I'm discussing other creative ways I think the future of this festival is going to be more of a crowdsourcing model. I think there's an opportunity. People love this festival, and we should give people the opportunity before the festival, at the festival, and after the festival, for me to shoot their phone at a QR code and give us $5 or give us $20. And I think that can be a way that people feel as we have a stake in the festival. And it's a way that we can message this. This is how we keep this festival a free festival. And to remind us, and I'm thrilled that we do this as a city, not many cities produce their own festival. But we produce this festival because to hand this off to a Live Nation or hand this off to a Bauer Presents, then I think what we hand off is the moniker of this really being the People's Festival. By us producing this festival within the city of Providence, we can ensure that it stays centered on our local creatives and that this festival truly is of, by, and for the people of Providence. That does not mean there aren't national and international conversations through other artists we hired, but we are trying to diversify the funding sources for this festival because whether you're talking about PVD Fest or Waterfire or Trinity Rep, these traditional large corporate sponsorships, the climate for that has changed. And I'm not sure whether we're ever going to get back to what that was even pre-pandemic. And now we're in this age of, no DEI. And so the way corporations are even engaging with the creative sector and the nonprofit sector is also changing. And so to your question, we have a lot of work to do. We'll be grateful for the 300. We're grateful for the 200. We're encouraging folks to sign up. I'm on the phone every day, and we're working very closely with economic development as part of our sponsorship team, along with First Works, to make this happen. And I'm asking for y'all's help. I need y'all, these spokespeople out in the community, and say, folks, go look at the PVD Fest website. If there were people that who could be a friend of PVD Fest, we're talking about I think at some point this festival needs to be a 501c3. And so we really have the capacity to do this sort of year-round fundraising mechanism. It gets a little tricky when you have a city sort of having citizens shoot their phone at a QR code to donate. I think that's a much easier, it passes more of a smell test if it is a 501c3. And so these are all things that we're discussing, but what we understand is this festival is important. It's not just important because it's a good time. This festival is important. It welcomes 75,000 people to the city of Providence. We have over $3 million of economic impact in downtown Providence. March Madness had 3.7. So for our little festival, that's not bad. But what this festival also does is, I'm actually going to an international conference. The group that you're going to help fund within this budget are part of the Global Cultural Districts Network, which is cultural districts literally from around the world. And we view Providence as one big cultural district. And I'm going to be leading a panel there about the idea of funding ephemera. What is ephemera? There used to be this old notion of that in order to experience art and culture, you had to go to an institution, a brick and mortar, a building. Now we understand that we can fund these festivals, this ephemera, as providing even more access to art and culture by these festivals being in public space. We know these festivals do all the things, economic impact, wellness, but they also stem identity-based violence when you have people cross generation, cross socioeconomic background in the streets. It engenders a sense of pride in our community. And we also know this festival as a really important part of our creative workforce development. So many of our artists, our food trucks, our vendors have gone on to build a brick and mortar, or have gone on to be the next C. Mayaga, or have gone on to do murals around the country like Angie Gonzalez, Gonza. And so we've also to sharpen our messaging around this festival and to respond to what we are seeing as a changing climate in our funding sources. But we continue to believe and understand deeply that this festival is important in the life of our city.
And
Go ahead.
And that's basically what I wanted you to touch on, because jobs are being created, you know. I want us to make sure we message it well. And we don't have to lie, it's already out there. A lot of our schools no longer do have a lot of these arts and crafts in there, but we're providing that too. So I would like for us to be able to say, well, justify. We gotta have to start justifying everything.
Yeah, well, one more thing about the life of a manager, because I didn't answer that question. I think you can tell your constituents, this is a $990 million industry. It deserves to be protected. There's room for expansion. And many of the people that I've spoken to, I literally had a conversation with the owner at True, Chris, the other day when we were in for our first visit for the summer mediation. And he was like, dude, we're suffering. We're still suffering post-COVID sort of, people's changing habits. So, yeah, I'd rather order on DoorDash than go and sit in a restaurant and have a meal, or they need our help. And so if we don't invest in this sector, we could be at risk of losing this sector. And I will also say that I think this is an equity issue. That too often the policies and practices of the 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. sector have been dictated by the 9 to 5 sector. And I think within that you have equity issues about who's represented in these sectors, the wages that are represented in these sectors, the power discrepancy that's often wielded in these two sectors against the other. And so I think it's a way to say that these gig economy workers matter too, and they deserve an advocate, and we can't afford to lose the sector. And you can quote that number, and to say that if we don't make these kinds of investments, I mean, this is the future of our. This is one of the I think the legs of the stool in terms of our economic vitality moving forward. And so I think I would use all those points as a way to talk to a constituent, say that this is an investment in our economic viability. This is an investment in fairness. It's an investment in our gig economy workers. And it's an opportunity for immense growth.
Thank you, Vice-Chairman. Director, thank you so much. And Rebecca, is that? Ellery, sorry.
There is a Rebecca.
No, thank you for all the work that your department does. I definitely have appreciated a lot of your comments today. So I don't really have any questions besides, I just wanted clarity. Is there someone in that position of Director of Arts and Teaching?
Yes.
There's someone in that position right now?
Yes, correct.
That was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation, Director. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Question I have for you is about this new position. From what time you thinking that this particular person will work? 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. in the morning?
Well, that's a great question. I think, again, that would be part of what we work out as a task force. I think obviously we would want them to operate, we want somebody who's gonna be able to be out at night. That may not be me, because I'm in bed by 8:30. But we want somebody who would obviously be on the ground and walking with, our licensing team in festivals, visiting our downtown bars and restaurants. They're gonna have to be engaged actually in the sector at night. I think that there will be also work that we will be doing internally, operationally during the day. And so I think this person will operate a lot like an ACT employee. We don't work a typical 9 to 5. During PVD Fest hours of time, for example, Our team's working 12 hours a day. We're on the footprint downtown with bloody feet, you know, for 12 to 14 hours. And so I think that it'll be a lot in the spirit of that, not a typical 9 to 5. And I think that this person would be a part of helping design what that schedule would look like, but it would have to be split with hours being on the ground actually at night. And I think there will be a certain amount of engagement that will take place during the day, because this person can also be engaged with the Providence Foundation, RI Commerce, the Rowland Foundation, the DID. You know, there are all these downtown stakeholders who they will have to be present for during the day as well. So we would craft that job description and then work out what that looks like in terms of those split hours, but it won't be a typical 9 to 5.
So it's not nightlife time. It's not gonna be a nightlife decision.
Oh, yes, their portfolio will be all about the businesses, the licensing, the enforcement, quality of life, perceptions of safety, that go into the nighttime economy. And they will be on the ground at night, and they will also have to be available in case something happens at night. And so they will have to be available to pick up that call, that 5 a.m. call, that 2 a.m. call. They will have to be available in that capacity, but that's something that we can work out, you know, in a much more detailed way with the task force.
Go ahead.
Because I'm not against any new position, but I am against to use the time not well done. Because if we have, the license department has two police officers, but they should be in the street, checking soundproof, checking the clubs, checking the bars, checking the restaurants. But I see like we want to have another person to do the same, and they're going to be reporting to the same person. So this position is going to be reporting to you, or it's going to report into the licenses board, or it's going to be reporting to the mayor.
This, as of now, this position will be reporting to me in the Department of Agriculture and Tourism, but I answer to the mayor. And so I think that there will be a very direct line, and the mayor is passionate about this work and about the sector. He is passionate about this work, and so it's an opportunity for economic development. And I think that, so this position will report to me, but again, these are things that we'll work out within this task force. I think I wouldn't look at this as being a duplicate, a position that would create some sense of a duplicative operation. What we lack right now, as I've spoken about even in our tourism sector, what we lack right now is a synergy in this sector at large. And right now there is a bit of a kind of factional, not ad hoc, because everyone's very deliberate about how they operate in this sector, but there is no one thinking about this sector largely and in total, and then serving as a liaison between all of these different stakeholders to make sure that we are being responsive in this sector. And so I think it's largely a position of coordination and not enforcement. And it's largely, and to be brutally honest with you, I think this position provides a level of legitimacy for a sector that has been stigmatized for as long as I can remember. Like anything at night has been stigmatized. It's like we got a quality of life means rolling up the sidewalks at 6:30. And I was going to work at 6:30, 7 o'clock. I trained in rep. And then after I left, I was looking for something to eat. We couldn't find anything to eat. Or if I wanted to go across town, transportation. I mean, it wasn't like you can't like hop a cab like I did in New York. So there were challenges that I even noticed about working in the sector. So I think it's largely a coordinative, a position that's going to coordinate, a position that's going to think broadly and strategically about the sector, and a position that can liaise between these traditional daytime players to create to create a broader strategy. What I think is even more important now is because I remember when I moved to Providence 20 years ago, the conversation was about how do we keep people in town after work to go to happy hour to come see a show at Trinity Rep. The way people behave with our cities now is very different. Now we have in downtown a larger resident population that sometimes is at odds with us developing this sector. So but also we know now, and we've seen the articles in the Boston Globe and papers around the country, the way that people interact with cities are different. That it's not that they're coming to cities to work, but they're coming to cities to live and to play and to have a certain kind of quality of life. And I think that's the opportunity for Providence at large. What are you thinking about our tourism sector or thinking about encouraging people to live in this city. It's really about a wheel and spoke strategy. You can live in Providence, have a level of affordability, we have great food, tons of culture, and you can take a 45-minute train ride to work into Boston. Or you can take a 30-minute car ride to Newport, or your 3-hour train ride to New York City. Or with even in a matter of this region, you can experience probably every typography you can experience across this country. So, but we want people to make a home here. We want people to pay taxes here. And to use this city, whether you're traveling, even as a tourist. Hey, stay in Providence. You can still go to Newport, you can still go to Boston, and you can even give yourself an extra and go to New York. So using this city as a hub for transportation, for tourism, and even selling this city is a wonderful place to raise your family because you're still close to all of these amenities and you can be at a body of water in less than 15 minutes. And so I hope that helped with this person it is a very important position, I believe, to provide this sector with the legitimacy and with the stature and with the advocacy that it absolutely deserves.
I think you're looking for a marketing guy. You're not looking for this type of person. The way you talk now is marketing. It's marketing the city needs to be exposed to the outside borders to bring people more here about this. Like to go into the bars and check how you doing with this, and people will say, who are you? Oh, I am with Archer. Yeah, like you said, thank you very much for taking this person in Honeywell. He's on Valley Street. But I've got 53 bars right in Honeywell Square. And I can take it to every single one, you know? And I'm sure you don't know anybody of those in there. But like, I wonder how you fall into this restaurant to go and test the system there first without forgetting the rest. But going back to the life manager that you're looking for, you also have a constituent engagement here. This person can do the same thing as the new position you're trying to get. Constituent engagement. Constituent engagement means talk to the people, right? Go outside and talk to the constituents. The bar owner is a constituent. The business owner is a constituent. The building owner is a constituent. Everybody who works in the city are constituents. And mostly here, like out of the whole city employees, most of them live in the city. So those are constituents. But we will figure out this later. Talking about the two other positions, 1550, how many hours these people work? Like $27,000, $704? Those a part-time job?
No, these are full-time employees. This just represents half of their salary, 50% of the total salary.
Or 50%, so
So the total salary for these positions is 55,480.
thank you. Out of that, how we can produce more money through these events? Because I come every single one. If I walk into the one event that they have a charge, they whack me with $45 cash to walk into the event. I know they have a band playing this, and then I try to buy a beer, cost me $22. I said, great, so this is my last time I'm drinking beer, I give up drinking that night. And the thing is, I was wondering how we give them the permits to do this kind of event, because it's a money-making machine. Are we trying to charge more for the permits, for them to close the parking lot and create an event? That's where I'd like to know how we can create more revenue when we do this type of events.
I don't disagree with you. I think we need to create more revenue. As far as ACT's place in permitting revenue, all we have is an application permit. Obviously.
How much is the permit?
It's $25.
Oh,
$25.
25?
But that's the first step in a permitting process. By the time you get down that checklist of what you may need for that event, you may have a bill that's several $1,000s. Because it depends on, whether you're in a public park has their own fees. We have a basic application fee to start filling out the application. But that's the only fees that we govern, that we have a say in. We can't waive any other fees. And so I do agree with you that we need to find every opportunity to generate more income for
Right.
city of Providence, absolutely.
That's one thing that we like, because if you can please work how we can get more revenue by doing, this is a special event. Everybody wants to come and sell, but everybody will have to. They must spend more money. One last question, can I? 2 seconds.
Grandmother's question, go ahead.
Grandma, question. You know my Christmas tree, are you trying to get away from my program? I hear that your department is trying not to do my Christmas trees no more.
Oh, no, that's in the budget.
It isn't
Holidays
what-
are in there.
Isn't there? Didn't raise the price on it?
It's there,
Stay.
it's there. That's a very important part of the work that we do, we're proud of that work that we do in neighborhoods, and that's there, and that's when I speak about, that's an example of, not working except for
So your department's in charge of the Christmas tree, which is your job? Just to go and decorate the tree, that's it?
No, we work with parks. First of all, we work with the vendor. This all happens around the same time. So while we're getting submissions for our big Christmas tree, forestry also works with us in the purchasing of the Christmas trees for each of the council activations. And so it's not that we just work with parks to pick the tree and make sure the tree shows up where it needs to show up, making sure that there's electricity where that tree is showing up, making sure you're all happy with where those trees are positioned. We book all the talent for each of those activations. We show up to each of those activations. We make sure the fire canteen is there.
No, I call the fire container.
But
Don't say that. I do call
fair enough.
it. No, I want to clarify
Call
that.
them for me, so.
That's right. Yeah, okay, that's a different
We
board.
pay for the Santa Claus that we have, we pay for, so we fund Santa, we fund the artist activation, we pay for the tree, and we also use our tech vendor to help decorate those trees. We have been better about that because there have been years when my team was actually going out into public space and having to raise string trees because lights go out. We stopped that because it's a liability and safety issue, but we are active and we show up to each of those lightings. And so, we're actively involved with that. It is a scheduling matrix that we do every year. It's actually a very involved process, because we're working with your schedules. We're trying to make sure that we can schedule the tree lighting so we actually have personnel available. That's why we've stopped doing like 3 tree lightings in one night, because we can't be in 3 places at one time. But no, we really enjoy doing it, but it's a lot of work. We make it look easy, but that's why I was a good actor. I made it look easy, but it was a lot of work.
Yeah, I understand that, and I want to say thank you, because it's a lot of work for you, because in the meantime, you set up this Christmas tree here in the front of the building. One little comment, can you work a different light system? Those little balls that you put, they die next day. And we don't have no solars here to put a solar thing in, like, has to be something different that people that those lights on.
Councilman, I tell you, I'm old school too. I hate LEDs. I go everywhere to find C7 lights to put on my house. I have C7s hanging in my yard right now. I get you. I
Give
really
me a
do.
battery,
I really
a
do.
generator, I will put on the deal. I'm sorry, I never put
Yeah,
a generator.
an energy agency, so I'm just gonna.
Whoops.
So just to follow up on that, on my Christmas tree lighting before, I paid for the lights for the trees. And for the last 2 years, they have not been put up. I don't know why, no, it's just in the tree, but not in the trees in the park. And I paid for that out of my council money. I was wondering, are those lights still around? Do you plan on going, I know you hired someone else to do it.
Yes,
And I know money
I
is
have,
short,
right.
yeah. So is that gonna come back at some point in time or? no?
We outsourced that last year, and we limited some of it last year because we couldn't afford to do it.
Okay,
And then, of course, with your generosity, you volunteered to pay for those lights. Now, those lights are.
but I paid for the lights that they get put up.
That's news to me, and so I need to
I don't even know
call,
where they are now.
I will call high output and make sure that we find those lights and that we, can find a way to get those out this year.
Okay, and last real quickly, I know water fire is grant money and everything, but does water fire pay for the details and overtime for?
Yes.
What about, I know you mentioned PV defense, but do they pay for the vendors pay to be on the street?
Correct.
They do. Good, okay, nice and easy, I was gonna say. Good question, by the way.
No, I did your question.
Not,
No, he's the one who.
I'm just showing how. Demonstration purpose. Anybody? Councilman Pizarro, any questions? I know you came late.
Thank you. I think that you've had enough questions on the North manager. So I've heard and I saw it on YouTube, so I'll leave it at that for now.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And,
Exhibit 10.
Exhibit 10.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Young, seconded by Councilman Graves, all those in favor? Opposed? Aye. Yes, Grant. They're not supposed to have questions. It's not an open meeting. You can catch them in the hallway. Catch them in the hallway.
No, I just.
This is an open.
Announcement for everybody. You go up to Westminster Street. Just before you get to the National Congress Square, there's a mural on the wall. The environmental mural, the mural of the message. I want everyone to, sometime over the weekend, cascade up Westminster Street, take a look. I think it reinforces a lot of what has just been discussed.
Thank you. Okay, next, HHS. Get sworn in.
He's down in her picture, testimony about the kids, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing. And please state your names and titles for the record. Sue O'Leary, Director of Senior Services.
Rachel Farrar, Senior Services Division Director. Melissa McDermott, Housing and Community Development Division Director.
Thank you, Chris, take it away before Oscar asks your question.
Started. If you are in your budget book, the numbers begin on page 88. For reference, I'm joined here to one of my colleagues. One very important person in this department is missing. She's out of the office doing an incredibly important job, which is being a mother for the first time. So.
Congratulations, you're probably watching. Congratulations.
Baby, so.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Okay. On to slide 2, fiscal 2026 proposed budget expenditures. Total expenditures in the Housing and Human Services Department are budgeted proposed at $2,366,496. This represents a $333,355 decrease from the fiscal year 2025 budget, or 12.35%. On to slide 3, total salaries in fiscal 2025 are budgeted at $729,465. In fiscal 2026 proposed budget, we've made the following adjustments. Cost of living increases for $15,386, step increases at $11,768. And the department also made a concerted effort to shift quite a bit of their salaries off of the general fund budget and onto grant funds. The net result of that has been a reduction in 1.3 FTEs, or $61,471 in salary expenditures, for a total salary line item of $695,148. This budget does have both fixed and discretionary costs. Their first discretionary line item is fees not classified, that is for staff parking, and it's been reduced from fiscal 2025 due to a recent change in the parking location to city staff. They have an increase in their postage line item of $1,300, and this increase, as well as the increase in printing, office supplies, and stationery, all relate to the convergence or the split out from when they were in planning last year. What we found is some of the estimates that we had thought they would need for these line items were a little bit off, so we had reduced them in planning but increased them in this budget, so this office would have sufficient funding for their operational expenses. Their advertising and marketing line of $15,000 is marketing for the Eat, Play, Learn program. Dues and subscriptions are budgeted at $13,500. This represents professional management as well as the cost of their grant management software. Printing costs are $8,000. This includes their copy lease and any printing materials for public facing events. There's $358,000 budgeted in program expense. This includes nonviolence programming, events, senior community related events, and then a match for unhoused grants should they arrive in fiscal year 2026. Contractual services is a fixed cost. It's budgeted at $710,647. This is behavioral health outreach support, paired programming, and senior programming. Professional development has been budgeted at $12,200, and this funding is required for staff to maintain and obtain credentials that are required for them to perform their functions of their job. In the supplies line item, there's $3,000 budgeted for office supplies, $3,200 for stationery, and $174,685, which represents their share of the rent at 444 Westminster Street. And that completes the financial review of housing and improvement services.
Okay, Councilwoman Engelbach, do you have any questions? We're gonna fire away.
Thank you. I just want a few quick ones. To start one, thank you all for being here and for all your awesome work. And Emily, I hope you're not watching, but you are, thank you for all doing work. So I guess you may have answered the first question I had. There's a lot of folks on the org chart at various percentages. Is that because they're on grants or, okay? And then I noticed that on the org chart, we have a lead inspector who is vacant. Are we hiring that? I've heard from a lot of constituents that they're having a really hard time getting lead inspections, and I'm really nervous about it, given the new law around lead inspections for rental properties, and it's caused like a lot of consternation, anxiety is better word, yeah. Are we feeling that? Oh.
Sorry,
Oh, no, I didn't know where, sorry, that was my bad.
the individual that was in that position actually recently just got promoted. He is now in the housing inspector 2 position. He recently was promoted a couple weeks ago, so I have since filled out the form to fill that vacant position.
Oh, great, thank you. And I think I will have more, but I will let you know.
Ready? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just a quick question. Thank you, friends, for stepping up in Emily's absence. The Eat, Play, Learn budget, why does that sit here and not like Parks or Recs? How, I guess what's your involvement is the question with that program?
Because Eat, Play, Learn is an interdepartmental effort, the advertising fees needed to be housed and administered, and because food security is a part of our department's mission and our programming, and we do have the capacity to be able to go through the appropriate procurement processes, and oversee the administration of those funds. That's how that historically has sat previously in the Healthy Communities Office, and now is with the Human Services Division.
Crystal, can you just give us a quick overview of how this department has shaped up to be what it is now? Can you just explain what has led up in the past year, I guess?
Yeah,
Separation of.
Previously, I would say, so fiscal 2025 is when this change was affected. So in fiscal 2024, there was a department known as the Healthy Communities Office. And I'm sure, Rachel can fill in on kind of the intricacies of what that office did and didn't do. However, in fiscal 2024, for fiscal 2025 budget, there was a desire to shift the focus of that and roll in the housing component so that you were really combining human services and housing in one kind of umbrella under the leadership of Director Friedman. And so that change happened in fiscal year 2025. A lot of those salaries were in the planning department, as were a lot of the line items expenditures, because all of the housing was previously considered part of planning and development. So in fiscal 2025, we took our best guess at estimating kind of what the housing portion of the planning staff cost. We took that out of the planning and development budget and we moved that into the new housing and human services budget. And then these allocations in fiscal 26 are really just the finalization of where those numbers landed at the end of those changes. But there were no new FTEs added as a result of that change. It was a budget neutral change for all intents and purposes. And I will say that, I think that this shift and the leadership that's been in this new division and these directors have done a really good job of reducing this budget after that change. Last year was a transition year. We're living in a little bit of a transition year. And I know that, you know, everybody on this team worked really, really hard to evaluate like what their mission is, how they can fulfill that mission and try to streamline and take costs out of the general fund and shift them to grants as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just to confirm, this department is staying at 444 Westminster, right?
That, to the best of my knowledge, they're not moving.
That's the plan. Because code enforcement is moving, right? Inspection thing?
Just inspections and standards are moving to the new DPW complex, correct? So yes, there's no intention to move the HHS department that I'm aware of.
Cool, thank you. And then can someone explain, I know you guys offer a lot of program services, but like for someone that might be listening, what like public facing programs or services can someone from the public walk in at 404 Westminster and receive or get more information about?
So we're happy to provide information at 444. We as a department, at least in human services, you can speak for some of the programs in terms of business. We really, we partner with our community organizations that are doing the work to uplift what they're already doing. We don't want to duplicate services. We want to be able to scale and scope what we're seeing that's already working. And then we also work internally with other departments that do provide direct services such as public safety to be able to help implement programs in that way. And then we always serve as an advocate for systems, environmental and policy change. So if someone were to come into our office at 444, we could advise them on the community services and resources that are available and the programs that we oversee and that we're partnered with. And then we also would be able to connect them with our advocacy efforts.
And then as far as housing, we do have the lead program that is available for constituents, as well as a home repair program through CDBG funds. And then we also solicit applications from qualified nonprofits for public service applications as well in this spring.
Cool, thank you. Can someone from the public come and get information about senior services?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Information on
Oh,
senior
yeah,
services.
of course.
that would come in. Yes.
Well, we provide resources. We help seniors navigate city services. We also work closely with the Rhode Island Minority Elder Task Force to help give emergency grants to Providence residents. Small grants, but very big impact when we need it. We provide transportation. We have about 45 high rises that we work with. Mostly shopping trips, a few theater trips, but mostly grocery shopping. We are working on an emergency preparedness program. We've already successfully completed one. We have 4 more where we're training seniors to help through emergencies.
Thank you. And this question is probably for Alyssa. Like during like an extremely tough budget, you know, sometimes the ability to make, you know, like a financial contribution to like the housing trust fund or like direct investment into housing supply might not be such a viable option. What else are you think, in your opinion, should us as legislators be looking at to hopefully increase the housing supply and making housing more affordable in our city?
I definitely think it would be important to talk to local constituents about the home program, because that is able to develop affordable housing. Right now, the federal climate is a little crazy, and unfortunately, those funds are being questioned right now. I know in the proposed budget from the president, he did propose unfortunately cutting those funds. He did in his first term as well, and we were able to get through that, and those funds were not cut. I think the biggest thing would be to talk to local lawmakers and have them advocate at the federal level to keep that program operating, and that will ensure that we're able to continue building affordable housing in the city.
Cool, thank you. Lastly, I just want to give a huge shout out to Dennis, who's sitting over there, and Rachel, who were a tremendous help in opening up and staffing the women shelters at Providence Center.
That, Councilman Luciano, any questions?
I do,
Go ahead.
thank you. Thank you very much for your, always your work and your due diligence. A couple of questions in terms of, the staff that you have, these departments in total, how many? And while you're looking at that, in essence, that has been reduced by 1.3 FTEs or staff,
No.
and is
so
there any?
The
Um,
positions were reduced, it was just the allocation of that salary to the general fund.
For the general,
Yes, so we still have those positions, we just were able to put more of their salary on grants so that we have less FTEs that are charged to the general.
and when you reference grants, is that when you reference the general fund, or is that a separate fund that you administer?
Separate fund. So the
And-
general fund, so when we talk about reducing FTEs, that means in net, 1.3 FTEs were taken out of the general fund budget and put onto another funding source outside of the general fund, whether that be CDBG or one of the various housing and human service related grants. So it was a matter of, still retaining the same number of FTEs, just really reallocating how their salary was charged. And really creating efficiencies where possible in this budget, knowing that we were heading into a tight budget year and they wanted to, do what they could to reduce the burden on the general fund while still maintaining the same level of services for our constituents.
Are you able to get that number?
The 1.3?
No, the staff, the.
Oh,
total?
yes, so the total is 23 in total between the general fund and other funding sources. The general fund total is 9.01, so there are some staff that are like 0.4% of their salary is charged to the general fund. And then the grant funded represents 13.9.
And there is or there isn't a separate fund, like a grant fund that you administered?
We have grants from multiple sources, so we have a number of federal grants, we receive money from HUD, we receive money from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration, we also receive a number of state grants, which are a mix of pass-through from the federal government, but also state-specific dollars.
Any
And also,
one?
as much as possible, we take advantage of private foundations as well to
Yeah.
utilize those sources.
Any other fund, non-discretionary that you administer?
Also, the opioid,
Yeah.
so the city of Providence receives opioid settlement funding through the litigation that took place. And our office also oversees the administration of those funds.
Thank you. And then in the rental of land in buildings, what is that? 170,000, what is that?
That's the rent for the HHS staff that are at 444 Westminster.
That's the portion of the,
That's their portion of the rent, yes.
what is the, Larry, if I may, what is the current lease there annual on that
It's
building?
about 1.5 million.
1.5? And is that increasing at what rate?
3% annually.
3% annually? Thank you. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone?
Thank you. I have 1.5 questions. The half is a follow-up on that. When does that contract end? 'Cause it seems like that's just really big line item.
I don't know the end of the lease term, do you know? It's,
2033.
yeah.
23rd, okay, so that's fine. And then the full question I had was, are we, it's so great that you guys have funded the staff through grants and taken them off the general fund. Are we worried about the federal funding and like which of our grants are we worried might not come in or could get canceled or any of that?
I think as with anyone who receives federal funding, we are uncertain. We continue to monitor the situation very closely. At this point, we have not received cuts, which is a good sign. We're closely monitoring the proposed budget for FY 26. There, I know at least from a human services perspective, there are some that are proposed to stay and some that are not. At this time, there's not enough certainty for me to be able to speak to that. I do think that we're fortunate though, as I said, that we have a diverse set of funding sources where we're not entirely reliant on federal funding. And that we do have the ability to shift and look at other sources if we do need to, bridge some gaps.
I do have to say too, I know most of the funds that are in my department are federally funded, however. CDBG has been around for 50 years and it touches virtually every community in America, so I would be very surprised if they did decide to get rid of it. I know there might be some proposed cuts, and as Rachel said, Roe is kind of trying to look to diversify our funding sources in our department. Thank you.
Councilwoman Graves, then Councilman Vargas.
I just want to clarify the vacancy for the lead. You said someone moved up, so they're out of that position. Do you have somebody going into that?
So yes, someone got a promotion. He moved up to the housing inspector 2 position. I have since filled out the paperwork to fill the vacant position, so I'm just waiting to hear on that.
Okay, and I noticed that there's 3 vacancies.
There is another one, the housing officer, and that is also, Emily had put in for that before she left, and then unfortunately there was the hiring freeze that had occurred, so that kind of put a pause to it.
Okay.
But I have also since gotten the okay to fill out the paperwork to go move forward to have that position as
Okay.
well.
And we have one program manager position that's open, that was vacated on February 28th. It's been posted and I'm starting first round interviews this week, so.
Okay.
Councilman Vargas.
Thank you very much. Who's the grant writer? Do you have a grant writer?
The city does have, within the mayor's office, a grants manager who we work very closely with. We're fortunate that we have a lot of capacity in-house to be able to prepare grant proposals. I authored most of the human services grant. I know there's a number of people within the housing division that can also, have also put together proposals that we've been awarded, and senior services has also started working. So we coordinate with the grants manager, but in terms of putting together the actual proposals, we have a lot of in-house capacity. We're fortunate.
How much funds do we have to help the community? Because I hear that we help housing issues, like they need to fix a house. How much money do you have in-house, like to do this kind of programs?
The home repair programs?
Yep.
300,000.
I was gonna say, I think it's about 300,000 for the CDBG home repair program, and then the city gets about just over $1 million, I believe, in home funds, which is for the development of affordable housing.
So 300, sorry.
300,000 in CDBG funds for home repair, and then about $1 million in regular home funds for affordable housing development.
It's a little miscommunication between your department and the position outside this building. Not a lot of people knows about these programs that you have. And a lot of people are struggling to fix up a house. Will be good for you if somebody can make a phone call to CAB. There's a CCA?
Recap.
CCAB. They getting a lot of applications and they don't have a lot of staff to help the people. And will be great is the person who has here to say the outreach coordinator that is only making $31,000. I'm sure he's working part-time, right?
Yeah, yes, he works part-time.
So it will be a little message for him to jump on the street and start looking for. See, if you see a house that is falling apart, that means that person needs help.
I know,
Before the building inspector comes inside.
I know this for our lead program, we actually have contracts with CLAP and CAP. Who we work closely with them to take applications for the lead program. And then we will go out and do an inspection and then refer them to the home repair program if they need that. However, that position has been vacant for some time, and that's unfortunately why we haven't really had that capacity and why we're hoping to fill the position as soon as possible.
Excuse me, also I want to say the CAP agency is represented here every week. They're in the Mayor's Center for City Services and they set up shop, so they are aware of a lot of the programs, at least the folks that come here.
Okay. About the lead program. That's an easy task because it's once you got lead in the property, it's a big problem. So do we have enough money to help these particular persons to, if they need to repair the apartment or the house?
The city just received, this year, $6 million lead grant for the next 4 years.
We should make a commercial tomorrow about that. Thank you.
You all set?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Good job.
on the senior services, we have 1 or 2 buses and how many drivers?
2 buses, 1 driver.
2 buses, 1 driver,
One bus take a break.
just in case one breaks down.
Yeah.
Is that by design or is, we
One of
haven't
them
had
was
two
already
buses.
in the, what do you call the contract? When the first bus was part of the original contract through the city, the second bus was funded through ARPA. So we were hoping we could use a second driver. We can certainly use a part-time driver through the summer. And we are kind of trying to figure out what CDL, passenger endorsed employees we have in case we can shift.
Councilman Pichardo would like to volunteer for that.
That's where I was going.
All right.
The aspect of having volunteers or people that can provide services to the seniors. Is that available for the general public to step up? And
Do you mean
work
to
with your
drive the
agency?
bus?
To drive the bus or
I don't believe so.
No?
I think.
Liability.
Jump on that, yeah. We can facilitate volunteers through community centers, but we don't take them on ourselves.
and also is there a backlog in terms of providing transportation to seniors? And
Pretty much, yeah, the first 2 weeks of the month, because folks receive funds and they want to get their grocery shopping done, so we're pretty booked the first 2 weeks. And then we reserve that just for grocery shopping, and then the last 2 weeks, there are days here and there, I mean, sometimes people cancel due to weather if it's an outdoor event. Our driver is also bilingual and answers the phones at the Mayor's Center for City Services when, you know, when he's not driving, so he's being used full time.
full time. Thank you.
Councilman Vargas has another question, believe it or not.
To you will be the question.
Yeah.
So this driver comes here, 311 office downstairs and sit there and answer the phone?
I mean, if he's not on the road, but he is on the road a lot. But in the morning, if his first trip isn't until 10 o'clock, he's here at 8:30, at least for the first hour. And yes, he's been trained on the new system and how to answer the phone. And if constituents come in and folks are busy, he can help them.
And what kind of buses do we have?
It's a 14 passenger, I don't know the name of it, but it's a 14, like the RIPTA bus, it's a 14 passenger
The
bus.
small one.
Yeah.
Small, 14, it has, yeah,
Small man.
the smaller RIPTA one.
You don't need CDL to drive that bus.
You could.
Yeah, you do.
Not that one. It's not air brakes.
Passenger goes.
Oh, a passenger chauffeur
The
license.
side, yeah.
Yeah, that's a different license than CDL. One last question, can I? Are you servicing a One Valley Street apartments?
Yeah,
Thank
a
you.
lot.
Well, you do have another high rise. How come they haven't reached out to Pocasset Mountain?
Oh, we always reach out to Castle Manor.
Are you guys doing that too?
We bring them, we just brought them, they like to go to IKEA in Stoughton.
E?
But we tell them you have to have a minimum of 10 people on the bus, because we're not just gonna go. We don't go any farther than an hour radius. We don't go to a casino. We won't do that. Casket loves
It's a
IKEA, I
restaurant.
don't know.
like the hot dog.
It's a
Well,
marketplace.
the Councilman Vargas is what, so that's good.
Yeah, no, we,
That's why they wanna go further.
yeah, I know. We've had wellness fairs there. Yeah, they're part of our regular.
Great, thank you.
That's it, I think. No more questions, so we're gonna put this in as what, number 11? Motion. Motion made by Councilwoman Anderson, seconded by Councilman Green, all in favor? Thank you for coming and being patient and waiting. Thank you. Motion to continue 1 through 5, is that correct, Ma'am?
That is the correct time.
Have a motion? Second. Motion made by Councilman Ingram, second by Councilman Sanchez, all those in favor? All those opposed, ayes have it, meeting, motion to adjourn. Made by Councilwoman Ingram, second by Councilman Graves, all those in favor, aye, meeting adjourned.